Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Joining me today is Maxine Adams, the Executive Director of the Lake Region Arts Council. Maxine, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, John.
Well, as we get started, tell the folks a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, my background is that I've worked for nonprofits for about 25 years now. A variety ranging from, I've worked as a counselor with a chemical dependency outpatient unit in Detroit Lakes. I've worked for the American Cancer Society in their grassroots lobbying efforts, so a variety of things over the years, and I have finally found my dream job at the Lake Region Arts Council as their executive director. So I hope I retire from there.
Well, okay, but now how did you come to be that? How did you finally find that job, and how long have you been there?
Well, actually this November I will be there 6 years. In one of the other nonprofits that I worked with back in the 80s had their office in with the Lake Region Arts Council, coincidentally in the City Hall in Fergus Falls. And I always told the director there if she ever retired, let me know, because I thought she had the perfect job. Well, some years later she did decide to retire, and I applied for the job, and thankfully they hired me, and that's how I got there.
Okay, well, the Lake Region Arts Council, what region do you serve?
Well, we're one of 11 arts councils in the state of Minnesota, and our region covers 9 counties in west central Minnesota, and roughly it's geographically from Moorhead over to Detroit Lakes, down to Alexandria and over to Morris. So we kind of cover that area just south of Fargo-Moorhead.
Okay, well, what's the role of the organization as a regional arts council?
We have the wonderful job of giving money to artists and arts organizations. We provide grants and services to support their efforts to make sure that the arts are available in communities in those 9 counties, and to just raise the level of awareness about the quality of art that we have in our area.
Okay, well, I hope we get to talk about that then today. Let's get into some more of the particulars. How's your agency funded and governed?
Well, each of the 11 arts councils in the state are an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization, so there are some similarities and some differences between the 11. In our region, we have 2 representatives from each of those 9 counties, which makes up an 18-member board for us. We are funded primarily from 2 resources right now. We get some funding from the McKnight Foundation. They support our efforts with individual artists, and we have 3 grant programs right now through them. And they also support a gallery, art gallery that we have for the area. The other money comes from the state legislature through an appropriation. We've had that for, since the 70s. Mm-hmm. And each state in the country sets aside a portion of state support for the arts. And in Minnesota, that is through an appropriation that happens every 2 years. And it goes through the Minnesota State Arts Board and then to the regional arts councils. And then we re-grant that out into the counties that we serve. So our funding comes from the state and the McKnight Foundation.
Okay.
We're pretty fortunate, though, that last fall, the voters voted to approve an amendment to the state constitution, and that was called the Legacy Amendment at that time. That passed, and what that meant is there's a 0.3% increase to the sales tax, and that goes to benefit the environment, parks and trails, and the arts and culture. So there is a portion of that money coming through the Minnesota State Arts Board to the arts councils and then back out again into the region. So we now have added a 3rd stream of revenue for the arts in the state.
Okay. Well, obviously we're familiar with that fund. It's in public broadcasting, television and radio in the state of Minnesota are benefiting from that fund. But how important is that fund going to be to you for the future?
I think not only to us, we're the vehicle that this is being transferred to. It's vitally important to the arts organizations and artists in the whole state. With the economic times the way they are, there are a lot of artists and arts organizations right now struggling terribly just to hold on and keep doing what they're doing. This funding will be a big help to them. I always put in the caution that it's not to take away from the necessity for communities to support their artists and arts organizations. This is a nice addition that we've been gifted in Minnesota. It certainly isn't enough to support all the arts activities, but it's a real boon in this economy. So yes, it will mean that we can continue to grow. We can continue to offer more services and more grants and more support, which is right now desperately needed.
Well, then with that, what kinds of grants do you offer to organizations and artists, I guess?
Well, again, they're split into two categories. We have our individual artists and grants, and we have our organizational grants. For the organizational grants, those are funded by the state funds at present. And right now we have project grants. We do 2 rounds of those, one in the fall and one in the spring. And those are to help arts organizations put on performances or bring an artist in to work with kids in the schoolroom. Those are called artist residencies. Just a variety of activities that the community can benefit from. We have operating support grants, which can be very helpful for arts organizations to help them with the general running so they can keep their doors open. And that can go either for staff salaries or heating and electrical costs. We had a organization ask to put in wheelchair ramps so that they were handicap accessible. We're able to help with those kinds of things. And then for the individual artists, we have a career development grant. And again, these are funded by the McKnight Foundation. That's to help artists with equipment or supplies or training if they wanted to study with someone to get better at what they do. Usually the grants are geared towards helping an artist become better at their craft or to try something new that they may not be able to otherwise. We also have an artist small grant, which is for a smaller amount of money. That's kind of a one-time, and again can be used for pretty much the same types of things, equipment or going to a workshop. We have then also the McKnight Fellowship that we offer, and that's for mid-career level artists to advanced artists, and that is usually, it's a gift of time. If they wanted to do a special project or had something in mind that they wanted to do for their art, this provides them substantial financial support to do that. Oftentimes they'll take a month or 2 off to go work on a project and don't have to worry about the lost wages or income that they might be losing by concentrating on that. Those are for $5,000 each, and we give 1 of those away per year. So we also have our artist mentorship program, which is for high school students grades 9 through 11. That matches up a high school student with a master teacher in whatever art that they are interested in learning about. Those are really special grants. I think that maybe has some of the more long-lasting, really impactful results of any of the grants that we do. We've had students that have been in the Artist Mentor program come back years after they have finished and tell us how much a difference that made in their lives and their outlook on their confidence just in general, their attitude towards their art. Some of them, it made the difference whether they went on to study that in college or not. I could remember being a high school student that loved to draw and paint, and my father telling me, "You'll never make a living at that." I unfortunately didn't have the experience of having a mentor that maybe could have counterbalanced that a little bit. My dad was a very practical person, but I've heard that same story from other students that have gone through the Artist Mentor program. It's really a fantastic program. We're very lucky to be able to offer that.
Well, good. But now, there are 11 regions, 11 arts councils,
arts councils
in the state. For Prairie Public, I guess Region 1 and Region 4 are in our service area, maybe, so to speak. But are the regions sort of the same in philosophy of what you're doing, or do they have different?
Philosophy, yes. We all have a little bit different grants. We call them by different names, and there's different funding levels, and there's some differences there. There are probably more similarities than there are differences, but each one, because of the needs in each region, vary greatly. You have some pretty metropolitan areas, say like Rochester, and then you have like our Arts Council and Region 1 where it's very rural. So some of the needs and what people, artists and arts organization needs vary greatly between those two.
Okay. Well, with the state funding, can you talk some about, I mean, how is the money decided how it's going to be split out to 11 different organizations?
There's a mathematical formula that they follow that I couldn't tell you if I had to.
Okay.
It's based on population, geographic area, and I think there's another factor in there. But yes, it's proportioned out as equally as they can, realizing this is a state where we have a huge metropolitan area with the Twin Cities and some very rural, non-populated areas, and trying to distribute that evenly. I think they've done a reasonably good job.
Okay. Well, you had some news recently, I guess, about an art gallery in Fergus Falls. Are they expanding?
Well, that would be us. We have a small gallery currently that we've had for some time that is about 600 square feet. We've had the opportunity with the help of McKnight to expand that to, it's a little over 1,100 feet. And we're housed right now in a very beautiful building. It's on the Register of Historic Locations. It's the River Inn in Fergus Falls. Was built in 1929, and in its heyday was the second most expensive building next to the courthouse. So it has some wonderful architecture. The space that we're looking at expanding our gallery into has south-facing floor-to-ceiling windows for some great natural light. It has a presence on the street where we were tucked at the back of the building before. It has these beautiful Art Deco archways and terrazzo marble floors. When we get ready to open, hopefully in January, I think that's going to be a very special space, not only for displaying art, but there's also an area there where artists or writers can come and sit and think or work on projects. What I love most about the gallery is the feeling you get when you walk in. There's ambiance or peacefulness there that is very unique, I think, to that particular building. So we have great expectations and great hopes for the expanded gallery.
Well, good. Well, you've talked some about what you have in your gallery, but can you talk about what you hope to have in the near and then long-term future?
Well, what McKnight hopes to accomplish with their grants is support to individual artists. So we want to continue what we have been doing in our gallery, which is offering a very high-quality venue for regional artists to get their work out into the public. What we're hoping then to also do is bring in some very well-known artists or exhibits to have on display in the gallery along with the regional artists, so that people can kind of get a mix of the best in the region and the best in the nation. We haven't decided what the calendar will be for the expanded gallery yet, but I've been online looking at some exhibits that we could bring in maybe from National Geographic. They have a traveling exhibit about women photographers for the last 50 years that I think would be very good. There was another one that was Georgia O'Keeffe, some of her work, along with some photographs of her throughout her career. I think there's just a whole wealth of wonderful opportunities to bring more art into the region, build in some educational components where maybe some school kids could come and do a hands-on arts activity that would relate to what's on exhibit in the gallery. But I think there's a lot of ways that we can use that space. And it's also nice that in Fergus Falls there are some other galleries in town that are, there's one that just opened in the Cadets Hotel that features Charlie Beck's work along with other well-known artists. The Center for the Arts has a gallery. They've changed their names. Minnesota State Technical College and the hospital also have very fine galleries. So I think there, at least in the town that we're located in, some real opportunities to have a very good gallery family.
Well, good. Yeah, that would be great. Now, you also have, I understand, workshop and technical programs that support programs. Can you talk about these a little bit?
Well, the workshops are usually geared towards either arts organizations, helping them to function better. We have done workshops in the past with Springboard out of the cities about networking, board building, all of the skills that arts organizations would need to expand their audiences and perform as well as they can. We've also had workshops for individual artists on how to take a more business-like approach to your art. Oftentimes that's a big struggle for artists. They want to do what they love, which is create their art, but they also want to make money from it, which takes a business sense also. So you kind of have to learn how to do marketing and think of yourself not only as an artist, but also a business person too. We also provide, I think, a really good service in our grant writing workshops. We have a workshop before each of our grant rounds. And in that, I go over grant writing in general, some tips on how to research grants that you might be eligible for besides ours, how to write a good proposal, things to think about, what they're looking for and how do you present yourself in the best light. And then we go through our own grant and make sure that we answer people's questions about how to do Lake Region Arts Council grants and hopefully get them into the grant cycle without any omissions or errors in their applications.
Okay. Well, you also had something about that I heard about about a 6-word short story contest.
That's one of my favorite things. We do that in late winter, early spring, and that has been such a success. It got started when I heard, coincidentally, on public radio, I'm not sure which station now, about a challenge that was made to Ernest Hemingway. Somebody asked him one time if he could write a short story in 6 words. And he gave it some thought, and what he came up with is, for sale, baby shoes, never worn. And that kind of got to be kind of a cult contest. You can go online and research it, and there's everything from science fiction short stories in 6 words to famous people writing things in 6 words. We decided, because we don't do an awful lot for the literary arts, to offer a 6-word short story contest and do it in conjunction with the Arts Partnership in Fargo. So it's been a joint effort for us. And we will be coming up on our 4th year, I believe, this year. Response to it has been amazing. We have gotten anywhere from 100 to 200 entries without much advertising of it. And I'm thinking back over the nuggets that we've had over the past few years. My favorite one is, and then the weasels ate him. I love that one just because it appeals to my quirky sense of humor. And if I can remember that, and they run all the way from very touching to where it brings tears to your eyes, to the humorous, to the kind of offbeat, to the political. And I'm trying to remember one. There was, it was back when Hillary Clinton was running for president. And if I can remember it correctly, it goes, "Goodbye, Bill, I won, see you later," something like that. I can't remember the whole thing, but it was kind of interesting for being a political one.
Those have to be fun. Well, I know you have to work closely with other arts councils in the region. Can you talk about any cooperative ventures that you have? Or?
Well, with the new Arts and Cultural Heritage funds coming in, we've had a rare opportunity to start building some programs from ground level. And we have been making great efforts to try and put as much commonality into it as possible. One of the things that we're working on is a universal grant application so that the applications are more similar between regional arts councils. We have also been looking at evaluation and measurement as hopefully being very much the same throughout the arts councils, so that when we're reporting back to the legislators and the people of Minnesota, they can be comparing apples to apples with that. And we do provide some of the same grant programs.
Well, and you've alluded to a couple of times about the Cultural Heritage Legacy Fund that was given out, or constitutional amendment that passed the sales tax increase, I guess, to support different things across the state. But also, that's an advantage in that it has to be new projects or new things.
Yes, there's language in the bill that says these are to supplement, not supplant. So that we're working through what all that means.
Sure. Okay. Well, now, again, you've got a 9-county area, and I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit because there's got to be some real gems out there to talk about, and of galleries and museums. What can people see?
And this is a little like being a winner at the Academy Awards. You want to be sure everyone is mentioned and not forget anybody. When I first started working for the Lake Region Arts Council, it was amazing to me not only the number of artists and number of arts organizations, but the high quality that is produced by the artists and arts organizations. I think we are still one of the best kept secrets in Minnesota, that if you're interested in enjoying the arts or being an artist in a art-friendly community, our region is one of the best in the state. But if you ask me to name names, some of the gems in the area, and I'll start at the north and work my way south. Of course, the Fargo-Moorhead area is a very rich cultural community. You have the Jazz Arts Group, you have the FM Opera, you have the Fargo Theater, you have Women's United, which does some really cool cultural programming. And again, I'm going to forget people here. The Rourke Gallery, what was the Yomkomst, and I think they now call the Clay County Arts and Cultural Heritage, whatever. They do some really cool stuff. Then in Detroit Lakes, you have the Holmes Theater. You have the New York Mills Cultural Center in New York Mills. You have a Center for the Arts in Fergus Falls. You have Alexandria Area Arts Association. You have the Evansville Arts Coalition. You have Prairie Renaissance Cultural Alliance in Morris, and you have Central Square in Glenwood, and Prairie Wind Players in Barrett. And yeah, it's just a very rich cultural community.
I was going to say, we only have 30
I
minutes
know.
here. So, but so how do you find artists or art? I mean, I assume you're always on the lookout, or, so.
Well, sometimes it's by me traveling around to the communities and talking to people. Sometimes it's people coming into our office or giving us a phone call saying, however they find out about us, tell me more about what you do. I'm an artist. I'd like to be on your artist database. I'd like to know more about your grants. And we keep files for everybody containing their information, so that if, for instance, somebody calls us wanting to find an artist, we can match them up with somebody that does. We had somebody that wanted a harp player at their wedding reception, called us because they couldn't find anybody. We had 3 on file, so it's kind of nice to make those matches when we can. Again, mass communication, we keep our eyes open in the other people's newsletters, on TV and radio, and just try to keep on top of what's going on in our region.
Sure. Well, let's tell the folks again about how artists or organizations can apply for grant through you.
We have particular grant deadlines that they would need to be aware of. Our website is www.lrac.org. Yeah, you may have to call us. We've got 2 websites right now, and I think I'm getting them confused. Our phone number is 218-739-5780. Yeah, and our website, we can get that to you, but be the easiest.
With the Minnesota budget woes that we had to go through, I guess, last year, are the arts organizations really feeling the pinch?
Very much so, and that's why earlier I said the blessing of the arts and cultural heritage funding is certainly going to help, but given the economic times, we certainly don't want everybody to pin their hope on that, because it is, although it's a wonderful windfall, it's not enough to totally take care of communities supporting their arts either. They still need to attend events, buy tickets, season passes, and support them any way that they can. But yeah, it's a little scary out there right now. And we're glad that we are so glad that we are going to be able to offer some help. Again, the funding started being collected July 1st, and we will be able to start giving grants out in January because that money needs to be collected through the sales tax for a while before there's any to get back out into the communities.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with that and, you know, exposing people to the arts. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, John.
Well, that's all we have this week for Prairie Pulse. And as always, thanks for watching.